Breaking: Nigel Farage just hit 23% in London, the one city they said he could never win. The fortress Labour swore was untouchable. And tonight, Sadiq Khan's team is in full crisis mode. It's 9:47 p.m., Tuesday, November 26, 2025. Inside City Hall, the lights are still burning. Staffers pace the marble corridors. Phones won't stop ringing. Somewhere in Westminster, a junior minister is staring at the same polling data, and the words won't make sense no matter how many times he reads them. Farage, London, 23%. If you want the full breakdown of how this happened, hit subscribe now. Because what we're about to show you isn't just a poll. It's a political earthquake. And the aftershocks, they're only just beginning. Outside, the city hums on, unaware. Red buses glide past Parliament. The Thames reflects 1,000 amber lights. But inside the machine, inside the rooms where power is brokered and reputations are buried, panic is spreading like wildfire. At 10:02 p.m., a senior Labour strategist sends a single encrypted message to the mayor's inner circle. We have 48 hours, maybe less. Here's what sparked the crisis no one saw coming. To understand how Nigel Farage, the man London rejected, the politician the capital mocked, the face of Brexit that this city voted against, got to 23%. You have to go back. Not to last week. Not even to last year. You have to go back to 2016. The morning after the referendum, London woke up furious. 48% of Britain had voted leave. But London? Nearly 60% chose remain. The city felt betrayed, abandoned, and in that anger, it doubled down. It became the anti-Brexit fortress, the progressive stronghold, the place where Farage's face on a billboard was an invitation for graffiti, not applause. Sadiq Khan rose on that wave. Elected in 2016, re-elected in 2021, and again in 2024, he became the embodiment of London's defiance. A Labour mayor in a Labour city, preaching inclusion, diversity, and resistance to the populist tide sweeping Europe. For years, it worked. But something shifted, quietly at first. Then all at once. By early 2025, the cracks were visible. Crime stats that wouldn't improve. Knife crime remained stubbornly high despite pledge after pledge. The ultra-low emission zone ULEZ had expanded again, and this time it hit working-class boroughs hard. Cabbies, tradesmen, delivery drivers, people who couldn't afford electric vehicles were paying £12.5 a day just to work in their own city. The resentment simmered. Then came the housing crisis. Average rent for a one-bedroom flat in Zone 2. Nearly £2,000 a month. Homeownership for young Londoners had become a fantasy. And while Khan spoke about affordability, luxury towers kept rising along the river, glass monuments to foreign investment, half of them empty. Meanwhile, Nigel Farage had been watching. After leading the Brexit campaign, after his brief stint with the Brexit Party, after years of being written off as yesterday's rebel, Farage had reinvented himself. Again, he took over Reform UK in late 2023, and this time, he didn't just aim for the shires and the seaside towns, he aimed for the cities. They think London is lost, he said in a March 2025 interview with GB News. They think it's theirs forever. But I've been walking those streets, and let me tell you, people are angry, and they're not being heard. The media laughed. Labour dismissed it as posturing. But Farage wasn't posturing. He was listening. He showed up in Barking, in Dagenham, in Croydon and Havering. He spoke to small business owners crushed by regulation, to parents worried about school standards, to pensioners who felt like strangers in their own neighborhoods. He didn't speak like a politician. He spoke like a guest at a pub, pint in hand, nodding along. And Reform UK's message was surgical. London has been taken for granted. It's time to take it back. By summer 2025, Reform began creeping into double digits in London polling. First 11%, then 14%. Political analysts called it a protest vote, a temporary blip. Labour's grip, they said, was ironclad. But it wasn't. Because while Khan's team focused on national Labour strategy, on Keir Starmer's broader agenda, on Westminster games, they missed what was happening on the ground. In the boroughs, in the pubs and the corner shops and the taxi ranks, they missed a quiet rebellion. Then came October 2025. A stabbing in broad daylight near Liverpool Street Station. A young father, 34 years old, killed on his way to pick up his daughter from school. The suspect was released on bail 2 weeks prior for a separate violent offense. The story dominated the tabloids. How many more? Screamed the Evening Standard. Farage didn't need to say much. He posted a single tweet. This is what happens when a city is run by slogans instead of solutions. Londoners deserve better. It went viral. 3 days later, he held a rally in East London. Organizers expected maybe 300 people. Over 2,000 showed up. The crowd spilled into the streets. Union Jacks mixed with reform banners. Chants echoed off the brick warehouses. Enough is enough. Khan's office issued a statement calling it dangerous rhetoric. But the damage was done. And now, tonight, November 26, 2025, the latest YouGov poll lands like a grenade. Farage, 23. Labour, 31. Conservatives, 19. Liberal Democrats, 9. Greens, 8. For the first time in modern history, a right-wing populist is within striking distance of winning London, not just competitive, viable. And inside City Hall, the lights are still burning. By 7 o'clock on Wednesday morning, the poll is everywhere. Farage earthquake in London. The Times. Khan's worst nightmare. The Telegraph. Is London about to turn red? To blue? To Farage? The Guardian. In a headline that captures the sheer bewilderment rippling through the political class, BBC Breakfast leads with it. Sky News runs a split screen. Sadiq Khan's face on one side, Nigel Farage's on the other, the number 23% glowing in bold red beneath his name. Social media ignites. Within 2 hours, #Farage effect is trending #1 in the UK, and London, the sprawling, diverse, chaotic city of 9 million souls, begins to fracture along invisible lines. In Knightsbridge, over oat milk lattes and sourdough toast, a group of consultants shared disbelief. It's just a poll, one says, scrolling through her phone. People lie to pollsters all the time, but her voice wavers. Because deep down, she knows. The city is changing. Or maybe it never was what she thought it was. Embarking. A retired bus driver named Colin sits in his local cafe, stirring tea, staring at the front page of the Daily Mail. He's lived here for 61 years. Watched a neighborhood shift. Watched the faces change. Watched his grandkids priced out of the city he helped build. When the waitress asks if he'll vote for Farage, he doesn't hesitate. Finally, someone who speaks our language, he says quietly. Someone who remembers us. In Peckham, a community organizer named Amara holds an emergency meeting in a church hall. 30 people pack the room: teachers, activists, local labor members. The mood is tense, fearful. This is how it starts, she says, voice trembling. We thought London was safe. We thought we were immune. But look at what happened in France, in Italy, in Germany. Heads nod. Someone says, we have to mobilize. Now, at Westminster. The shockwave hits the political class like a tidal wave. Labour MPs gather in the tea room, voices hushed but urgent. A backbencher from Birmingham leans in. If Farage can do this in London, what does that mean for us in the Midlands? No one has an answer. Another MP, younger, idealistic, shakes her head. We've lost the plot. We stopped listening. And now they're listening to him. Across the aisle, Conservative MPs watch with a mix of horror and glee. Horror because Farage isn't just stealing Labour votes, he's cannibalizing their base too. Glee because for once, it's not their crisis. Not yet, anyway. A senior Tory strategist texts a colleague, Khan's bleeding. Do we twist a knife or stay quiet? The reply comes instantly. Stay quiet. Farage eats us next. By midday, the media circus is in full swing. A Channel 4 news crew sets up outside City Hall. Reporters ambush Labour councillors as they leave meetings. Do you think the mayor has lost touch with ordinary Londoners? One journalist shouts. A councillor stammers, tries to pivot to housing policy, but the damage is done. The clip will loop on social media all afternoon. LBC's phone lines explode. Caller after caller, accents from every corner of London. Weigh in. I've voted Labour my whole life, says a woman from Ilford, her voice cracking. But I'm scared to walk home at night. And when I say that, they call me racist. I'm not racist. I'm scared. Farage is a con man, growls a cabbie from Hackney. He doesn't care about us. He cares about himself. But I'll tell you what, at least he's talking about the things that matter. Les is killing me. 15 quid a day just to work. Where's Khan on that? This is dangerous, says a university lecturer from Islington. This is how fascism creeps in. We joke about it. We meme about it. And then one day we wake up and it's real. The lines blur. Left, right, center. The old labels don't hold anymore. Because this isn't about ideology. It's about feeling. Feeling heard. Feeling safe. Feeling like the city you love hasn't forgotten you. At 2:15 p.m. Nigel Farage steps out of a black SUV in South London. He's scheduled to do a walkabout in Croydon unannounced. Unscripted. Just him and a small camera crew. Word spreads fast. Within minutes, a crowd gathers. Some wave reform banners. Others hold their phones high, recording every second. A few hecklers show up too, shouting, "Racist, go home." But they're drowned out. Farage walks slowly, deliberately. He stops at a kebab shop, shakes hands with the owner, a Turkish man who's been here 20 years. They talk about business rates, about crime, about the feeling that no one in power is listening. The owner doesn't say he'll vote reform, but he doesn't say he won't either. A young mother approaches, baby on her hip. "My husband's a plumber," she says, voice shaking. "We can't afford to live here anymore. We're looking at moving to Kent. But this is our home. Why should we have to leave?" Farage nods, listening, his face serious. "You shouldn't," he says. "And that's what we're going to fight for." The cameras capture every moment. By 4:00 p.m. The video is edited and uploaded. Nigel Farage hears what London really thinks. Within an hour, it has 400,000 views. Meanwhile, inside City Hall, Sadiq Khan's team scrambles. An emergency strategy session is called. Advisors, pollsters, come staff. They crowd into a conference room overlooking the Thames. The mood is grim. Someone pulls up the crosstabs from the YouGov poll. The numbers are devastating. Farage is winning 38% of white working-class voters in outer London. He's pulling 19% of voters aged 45-60. Even among ethnic minorities, Labour's bedrock, his numbers are creeping up. 6% among Black Caribbeans. 9% among British Indians. "This isn't a blip," says the chief strategist, a sharp-eyed woman named Rachel who's been with Khan since 2016. "This is a realignment." The room goes quiet. Khan himself sits at the head of the table, hands folded, face unreadable. He's weathered storms before. Tory attacks, media scandals, Brexit chaos. But this feels different. Because this time, it's not coming from the opposition. It's coming from the people. "So what do we do?" asks a young aide. Rachel doesn't hesitate. "We fight. We go on offense. We remind people what Farage really is. We expose his record, his lies, his backers. We make this a choice between hope and hate." Someone else speaks up. "And if that doesn't work?" Silence outside. The sun sets over London. The city glows amber and gold, the skyline a jagged silhouette against the bruised sky. Commuters pack the tube, headphones in, faces blank. Tourists snap photos at Tower Bridge. Street vendors hawk roasted chestnuts near Covent Garden. Life goes on. But beneath the surface, something has shifted. A line has been crossed. A threshold reached. By 9:00 p.m., the Evening Standard releases an emergency edition. The front page is stark. The battle for London has begun, and in a small office in Mayfair, Nigel Farage pours himself a whiskey, looks out at the glittering city below, and allows himself a rare smile. They said it was impossible. They said London would never listen. But tonight, London is listening, and he's only just getting started. Thursday, November 27th, 2025, the day everything changes. At 8:00 a.m., Sadiq Khan makes his move. He schedules an emergency press conference at City Hall for noon. No advance warning. No prepared remarks leaked to friendly journalists. Just a terse statement from his press office. The mayor will address Londoners directly on the issues that matter. The political world holds its breath. By 11:30 a.m., the press room is packed. Cameras from every major outlet. Reporters elbow for position. The air is thick with anticipation and something else. Tension. The kind that crackles before a storm. At 11:58 a.m., Khan enters. He looks tired. The lines around his eyes are deeper than they were a week ago. But his jaw is set, determined. He steps to the podium, the blue and white Greater London Authority logo behind him, and for a moment, he just looks out at the crowd. Then he speaks. "London," he begins, voice steady but edged with emotion, "is the greatest city on earth. It is a city built by immigrants and dreamers, by workers and visionaries, by people who believed that here you could build a life, raise a family, be safe, be free." He pauses. "But I know that right now, many of you are angry. Many of you feel let down. You look at the headlines and you see crime. You see rising costs. You see a system that feels rigged. And you ask, where is our mayor? What is he doing?" The room is silent. "I hear you," Khan says, and his voice cracks just slightly. "I hear you, and I take responsibility. I have not done enough. We have not done enough. And that change is starting today." He lays out a plan. More police on the streets, stricter enforcement of bail conditions for violent offenders, a freeze on ULEZ expansion for 2 years, emergency funding for small businesses, a crackdown on rogue landlords. It's bold, it's specific, and it's exactly what his advisors told him to do. But then he shifts. Now let me be clear about something else, Khan says, and his tone hardens. There are people who want to exploit your anger, people who want to divide us, people who see London not as a community, but as a battlefield. And one of those people is Nigel Farage. The press corps leans forward. Mr. Farage talks about taking London back. Back from whom? From your neighbors? From the nurses and the bus drivers and the shopkeepers who make the city run. He talks about safety, but where was he when we fought for more police funding and the government said no? He talks about ordinary Londoners, but he lives in a £4 million house and sends his children to private schools. Khan's voice rises. Let me tell you what Nigel Farage really is. He's a man who has spent his entire career tearing things down. Brexit, he promised sunlit uplands. We got economic chaos and empty shells. UKIP, he abandoned it. The Brexit Party, he walked away. And now reform? It's the same playbook. Stoke fear, make promises, cash the checks, and move on. He leans into the microphone. Londoners are smarter than that. We have faced down fascism. We have faced down terrorism. We have faced down every attempt to divide us. And we will not let a career opportunist turn the city into his personal vanity project. The room erupts. Journalists shout questions. Cameras flash. Khan raises a hand. That's all I have to say, he says quietly. And then he walks out. Within minutes, the clip is everywhere. Twitter explodes. Hashtag Khan fights back trends alongside hashtag Farage for London. The battle lines are drawn. Some praise Khan's fire. Finally, tweets a Labour MP. He's showing some backbone, others call it desperate. Attacking Farage won't fix knife crime, writes a Conservative commentator. This is a man out of ideas. And in living rooms and break rooms and group chats across London, people take sides. But Nigel Farage, he doesn't respond. Not immediately. He lets the news cycle churn. Lets Khan's words hang in the air. Lets the tension build. And then at 6:47 p.m., he posts a video. Not a polished campaign ad. Not a studio recording. Just him, standing in front of a pub in Romford, phone in hand, filming himself. Evening, everyone, he says, that familiar grin playing at the corners of his mouth. I've just watched Sadiq Khan's press conference. And you know what? I feel sorry for him. I really do. He pauses. Because when a politician has run out of answers, he does what Sadiq did today. He attacks. He name calls. He points fingers. But here's the thing, I'm not running against Sadiq Khan. I'm running for you. He turns slightly, gesturing to the street behind him. People walking by. Cars passing. Real life. These are the people I care about. The cabbie who's about to lose his livelihood because he can't afford a les. The grandmother who's afraid to walk to the shops. The young couple who'll never own a home in the city they were born in. Sadiq can call me whatever he wants, but he can't call me wrong. His voice drops. Serious now. You know what the real difference is between me and him? I listen. He lectures. I show up. He hides behind press releases. And when the people of London are ready for change, real change, not just words, I'll be here. He looks directly into the camera. See you on the doorsteps. The video ends. Within 2 hours, it has 1.2 million views. The media descends into chaos. Pundits argue on live TV. Khan landed a solid punch, says one. Farage just dodged it and counterpunched, says another. Polls are commissioned overnight. Focus groups assembled. And the city? The city watches, because this isn't just about politics anymore. It's personal. It's visceral. It's about identity. About who gets to define what London is. About whether the old guard can hold on or whether something new, something unpredictable is rising. Friday morning brings a new bombshell. The Sun runs an exclusive secret recording. Labour donor calls Farage voters thick racists. The audio is damning. A major Labour backer, caught at a private fundraiser, dismissing Farage supporters as low-information voters clinging to nostalgia. The quote spreads like wildfire. Reform seizes on it. This is what they really think of you, Farage tweets, retweeting the story. Khan's team scrambles to distance themselves. The donor issues an apology. But the damage is done. Because every insult, every dismissal, every moment of metropolitan condescension, it all feeds the narrative. They don't understand us. They don't respect us. They think we're stupid. And Farage, he doesn't even have to say it anymore. The people are saying it for him. Saturday brings dueling rallies. Khan holds a unity march in central London. Thousands turn out: students, activists, union members, families. They carry signs. London is for everyone. No to hate. Our city. Our values. The speeches are passionate. The atmosphere is defiant. But there's an undercurrent of anxiety, because everyone knows this is defense, not offense. Meanwhile, in East London, Farage holds a town hall in a packed community centre in Dagenham. No stage, no podium. Just him, standing in the middle of a crowd, taking questions for 90 minutes. "Will you stop, Les?" asks a delivery driver. First day in office. Farage replies, "What about the police?" asks a mother of 3. "We hire 2,000 more officers. We give them the tools to do their jobs. And we make it clear if you commit a violent crime, you're going to jail. No excuses." Applause fills the room. An older man stands, voice shaking. "I've lived here 50 years. I don't recognize my own neighborhood anymore. Am I allowed to say that? Or does that make me racist?" Farage walks over, puts a hand on the man's shoulder. "You're allowed to say it. And anyone who tells you otherwise is part of the problem." The room erupts in cheers. By Sunday night, the polls tighten further. Labour, 29. Reform, 25. The gap is closing. And as London prepares for another week, another round in this brutal, unrelenting fight, one thing is clear. This is no longer a campaign. It's a reckoning. Sunday night bleeds into Monday morning. London doesn't sleep. Not really. The tube rumbles through tunnels beneath the streets. Night buses carry cleaners and nurses home from shifts. In Shoreditch, the last of the weekend revelers stumble out of clubs into the cold November air. In Brixton, a bakery fires up its ovens at 4 o'clock a.m. The smell of fresh bread drifting down the empty street. The city hums. Relentless. Eternal. But something has changed. You can feel it in the silences between conversations. In the way people scroll through their phones on the morning commute, jaws tight, eyes distant. In the way old friends avoid certain topics over coffee, knowing that one wrong word could fracture something fragile. London has always been a city of tribes, boroughs and neighborhoods, accents and postcodes, old money and new arrivals. But those divisions were manageable, contained. You could live your whole life in Hampstead and never think about Havering. You could work in Canary Wharf and never set foot in Croydon. Not anymore, because now everyone has to choose. At a school in Lewisham, teachers gather in the staff room during morning break. The conversation turns inevitably to the polls. One teacher, a woman in her 50s who's taught here for 20 years, says quietly, "My brother's voting for Farage." The room goes silent. Someone asks why. She shrugs, uncomfortable. He says Labour stopped caring about people like him. White van man. Not poor enough for help. Not rich enough to matter. No one knows what to say. Because she's right. And they all know it. In the city, in glass towers overlooking the Thames, investment analysts model scenarios. What happens if Farage wins? Capital flight? Business relocations? Or does the market shrug, deciding that London is too big, too important, too embedded in the global economy to truly change? One senior banker tells his team, hedge everything, because nobody knows what happens next. In mosques and gurdwaras, in churches and community centers, faith leaders try to calm nerves. "We've been through worse," says an imam in Tower Hamlets, addressing his congregation on Friday. "We survived the Blitz. We survived 7/7. We will survive this." But even as he speaks, he wonders, because this isn't bombs or terror. This is slower, subtler, the unraveling of the social contract that held the city together. Sadiq Khan spends the week in constant motion. He visits schools, meets with community groups, does radio interviews and town halls. His message is consistent. We can disagree without tearing each other apart. We can demand better without burning it all down. We can be frustrated without being fooled. But the exhaustion shows in a rare unguarded moment. Caught by a BBC camera crew after a long day of campaigning, Khan sits alone in the back of his car, staring out the window at the city lights. He looks small, tired, human. "I just want people to be safe," he says quietly, to no one in particular. "That's all I ever wanted." The clip goes viral. Some see vulnerability, others see weakness. Nigel Farage, meanwhile, is everywhere and nowhere. He does podcasts, live streams, pop-up appearances at markets and pubs. He's mastered the art of being accessible without being overexposed. Every photo up looks spontaneous. Every soundbite feels unrehearsed. His team knows exactly what they're doing, crafting the image of the everyman outsider. even as they run one of the most sophisticated digital campaigns in British political history. On Tuesday, he appears on a primetime debate show. The host presses him, "You've promised to stop Les, hire more police, cut crime, freeze rent increases, and lower taxes. How do you pay for it all?" Farage doesn't flinch. "I'll tell you how. We stop wasting money on vanity projects. We cut the bureaucracy that's choking this city. And we make London work for Londoners again, not for property developers and international investors." It's not an answer. Not really. But it sounds like one. And in the court of public opinion, that's often enough. The final week of November feels like a fever dream. Attack ads flood social media. Labour accuses Farage of secretly wanting to privatize the NHS. Reform accuses Khan of turning London into the crime capital of Europe. Fact-checkers work overtime, but no one's reading fact-checks. Everyone's already made up their minds, or have they? Because beneath the noise, beneath the slogans and the sound bites, there's something else. Doubt. Uncertainty. A city staring at itself in the mirror and not recognizing what it sees. A black cab driver in his 60s, interviewed by Channel 4, sums it up. "I don't know if Farage is the answer, but I know Khan isn't. Not anymore." So what do? You roll the dice. You hope. That dangerous, intoxicating thing. By the weekend, whispers begin circulating Westminster. Senior Labour figures are quietly discussing contingency plans. What if London falls? What does that mean for the general election in 2026? Can Labour win a national majority if it can't hold the capital? Some MPs begin distancing themselves from Khan. Others double down. The party fractures along old fault lines: Blairites versus Corbynites, pragmatists versus ideologues. The Conservatives, meanwhile, watch with morbid fascination. They're polling third in London, an afterthought in a two-horse race. But they know that if Farage wins, the entire political landscape shifts. Suddenly, Reform isn't a protest party. It's a governing force. And the Tories? They'll have to decide whether to fight it or join it. History doesn't announce itself. It doesn't arrive with trumpets or declarations. It happens quietly, in polling booths and kitchen table conversations, in the small, private moments when people decide that enough is enough. And right now, in late November 2025, London is deciding. The election is still months away, May 2026, but the campaign has already begun. And the city, this vast, chaotic, beautiful, maddening city, is more divided than it has been in generations. Some see Farage as a savior, a man willing to say what politicians won't, to fight for the forgotten, to restore what's been lost. Others see him as a threat, a demagogue wrapped in Union Jack rhetoric, offering simple answers to complex problems, exploiting fear for personal gain. Both sides are convinced they're right. Both sides believe they're fighting for London's soul. And maybe that's the most frightening thing of all, because there was a time when Londoners could disagree and still share a pint. When left and right could argue politics and still be neighbors. When the city's diversity was a source of pride, not division. That London feels very far away tonight, on a cold Sunday evening. As December approaches, a young woman stands on Westminster Bridge. She's 28, works in marketing, moved here from Manchester 5 years ago. She voted Remain. She voted Labour in the last 3 elections. But now she's not sure. She looks out at the Thames, at the lights reflecting on the dark water, at Parliament rising against the bruised sky. And she thinks about the city she fell in love with, the London of possibility, of reinvention, of a million stories intersecting on every corner. Is that London still here? Or has it already slipped away, replaced by something harder, angrier, more afraid? She doesn't know. None of us do, because this story, this moment, isn't over. It's just beginning. The polls will tighten. The rhetoric will escalate. The battle lines will harden. And on a spring day in May 2026, millions of Londoners will cast their votes. Some will vote for continuity, for stability, for the idea that progress is slow but sure. Others will vote for disruption, for change, for the hope that something better lies on the other side of the chaos. And when the ballots are counted, when the final results flash across screens in pubs and living rooms and newsrooms across the city, London will know, not just who won an election, but who it has become. For now, though, the city sleeps fitfully, restlessly, dreaming dreams of what was, and what might be. And in the darkness, the Thames flows on, indifferent to the arguments of man, carrying the weight of centuries, whispering secrets to the stones. London endures. It always has. But the question that hangs in the cold November air, the question that will define the months to come, is not whether London will survive. It's what kind of London will emerge when the dust finally settles, and tonight, no one knows the answer.